Hi everyone, Kayla Johnson here. Welcome to my final presentation for ACTE 699 and also my final presentation of my graduate level classes. So here we go. This is my digital storying presentation for my action research project. All right, so I am a first grade teacher at Northwest Elementary School in the Lebanon School District. My current graduate program is Assessment, Curriculum, and Teaching with the STEM endorsement. So like I just mentioned, this is my final class and I am on my way to graduation next Friday, May 10th. So the purpose of my research was to determine whether digital storytelling increases student achievement in writing. I took this project from a personal and professional stance. So I saw this as an opportunity for professional growth. I really wanted to increase, and I had an interest in revamping my writing unit. Throughout the past 4 years that I've been a teacher here at Northwest in first grade, my writing has always been lacking. The first year that I was a teacher, I focused a lot on reading because we got a new reading program. The year after that was math. I researched a lot on guided math, and I had taken that course, Math in the School program, and that helped me to support my math instruction by using technology and increasing student engagement in games and things like that. So writing was really the last thing aside from science, but I've been kind of pulling science along my past 4 years that I've been in this program, actually 3 years that I've been in this graduate level program. So writing has always been an area of weakness for me, not only as a student in elementary, middle school, and high school, but also in my teaching. So I really took this challenge, this research personally, and I wanted to connect it with something that I could actually see myself using and incorporating in the future. So I also wanted to increase student engagement, idea generation, organization, and planning and writing, which are 4 main things that I needed improvement in. So my purpose was not only professional but also personal because I wanted to get better at helping my students to write. So my research question was, does writing achievement increase if students are required to record their narrative writings in a digital storytelling format? So to help support my research, we did the literature review. I found lots of good resources. I was mainly going for research at first, mainly looking at research that told me that writing is really hard. I found a lot of research that the National Council of Writing said that writing is one of the most difficult subjects in areas where students have the most difficulty in, and I am kind of right there with the students because I struggled too. So according to Dunn 2015, this was a study where this person developed a mnemonic device to help students organize their writing process. So as you can see here, they came up with the story mnemonic device. Each letter stood for a different part of the process. I'll go ahead and let you read through those if you'd like. And one of the quotes that I really enjoyed reading from this person's study was that the novelty and utility of an iPad with its art and text generation apps can help make a text generation process more meaningful and manageable. So that really helps to support my research because I was taking their text and having them record it and then add different types of things to their writing online to help support their writing. The next study that I'm going to talk about here was by Sessions, Kang, and Walmack, 2016. So these researchers conducted a study with 2 tracks of students. There's a track A student who were given pencil and paper, only pencil and paper to write. Students increased their focus on creating vivid sensory and concrete details. And then the track B students use an iPad app to help support their writing. And the results also found that they increased their use of sensory details in addition to increasing their sequence in writing, and they also use many more transition words. And the quote that I took from their research is here: perhaps the most marked effect of using the iPad apps in comparison to the pencil and paper use was that students' approach to writing and in the decisions made during composition. A general observation by Track B students in multiple interviews was that for the first time they had the ability to actually see on screen what they were thinking. This quote supports my research 100% because, and I'll get to this a little bit later on, but my students actually did a lot better after they could re-record and hear themselves as they were reading their papers, because they could see where they were missing transition words or missing details. So it was really neat to see that kind of like light bulb moment happen for them. The last study here that I would like to share with you is by, I think it's Yamak and Ulisi, 2016. This study was conducted in Turkey to investigate the effects of digital storytelling to improve writing skills of third graders. So again, a quote here that supports my research is, digital storytelling enhanced students' ideas, organization, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions in terms of writing quality. Similarly, digital storytelling improves story elements such as problem setting, characters, and plot. In the end of the procedure, students' stories were more detailed in terms of word count. So again, just supporting my research. And now I'm going to get a little bit into the design here. So what I wanted to do first was my pre-assessment writing prompt. So my district has a massive curriculum binder with a section on writing, and I took the rubric that was out of there and used it to grade their pre-assessment. So what they had to do was use the information we have learned about the polar bear to write a narrative story as if you were a polar bear. In your essay, you must include what the polar bear eats, where it lives, and one adaptation. After that, they wrote their stories. I corrected it using the rubric, and I'm going to X out of this here kind of just to show you some of my the grades here. So all my students are numbered 1 through 28. Here at the bottom on each of the rubrics, E means exceeded the standard, M means that they met the standard, P was progressing towards the writing standard, and B was beginning the writing standard. So after I graded all of my students' writing samples, I counted up the number of, this is, here we are, the pre-assessment. I counted up the numbers of E's, M's, P's, and B's. And then this just kind of gave me a good outline as to where my students were and what standards they were exceeding, meeting, progressing towards, and beginning. So I found that many of the students really struggled, and I actually have kind of the theme. I'll talk about that then. Well, let's just jump into the post-assessment. So my post-assessment was essentially the same thing, except they had to write about penguins instead of polar bears. And then I graded it and put all the data here. I'm just going to jump back and forth. And then after that, they recorded their writings using the Seesaw app. So some findings from my pre-assessment were that students neglected to establish who and what their story was about. They also did not include thoughts or feelings. They had less than two events that were in their narrative stories, and they did not provide a sense of closure. They lacked a lot of details, and their conventions were terrible, like downright terrible. Some findings continued. So after we talked about and I modeled all the narrative writing process, how we gather facts, things like that, how we write from the perspective of a polar bear, or actually would be a penguin, then we jumped into the post-assessment. I found that there was an increase in overall writing achievement. So many of my students who were beginning were progressing. Progressing moved up to exceeding, or meeting, and then meeting to exceeding. Students developed their narrative story structure in a cohesive manner. Then writers are actually still progressing towards incorporating more thoughts and feelings into their writing. So that is an area that I'm going to look forward to the future to try and help myself elaborate, or help students elaborate more on their thoughts and feelings. So the storytelling results, after I created their narrative writings using the same rubric, I had them record their writings through the Seesaw app. And this is an awesome app if you haven't checked it out. Not only does it allow students to post to me so that I can view their writing, but it also allows their classmates to view what they did. So a classmate could go in and listen and learn more about their storytelling. It's really cool, and then they can like write back and forth to each other. We actually use this app during reading for doing book reviews. So the storytelling results. Students were engaged. Like, they could not wait to get their hands on the iPad and to record their writings and then to pass it off to their friend. And then eventually when the iPad worked their way back to them, they loved listening to each other's facts and their perspectives. Students added expression through their voice, which is something that one of the studies showed, so that was definitely aligned. And they were accurate. They were the accurate representation of their narrative writing. One of the coolest things that I love is that recording student stories through this iPad increased my ELD students' comfortability. They weren't standing up in front of the class and talking. They were instead talking through the iPad, and it was just really cool to hear their speaking just was flawless. It was just really, really neat to see. So in conclusion here, I have that when used appropriately, technology can increase student engagement in writing and achievement. I definitely saw an achievement in my students from even the beginning till the end. Even if it was just up by one standard, they still met some type of growth in their recordings and their writings. I have here that writing doesn't always have to be boring and always a paper and pencil task. I think people get too stuck in their ways of using the paper and pencil, and a lot of teachers that I work with are hesitant to incorporate technology because sometimes it is a lot, and that's definitely not I'm a younger teacher. This is only my 4th year teaching. I didn't grow up using the technology, so I can only imagine what a veteran teacher is feeling with this pressure of using technology in the classroom. But really, my hope is that in using and doing this project, I can go back during one of our collaboration sessions with my teammates and help them to be more aware of the resources and apps that are available to increase writing achievement. I would love to utilize this app more during retelling, because retelling is one of the 3 ways that my students learn to read. We can read the pictures, we can read the words, or we can retell the story. So it would be really cool next year to be able to use the Seesaw app or some type of app where students digitally retell their stories that are happening from the beginning to the middle to the end. As well as the character setting, problem, and solution. So I really enjoyed doing all of the work. Although it was a lot and very extensive and very time consuming, it was something that allowed me to take something that I'm not really comfortable in, which is writing, and use that to my advantage because I had the time to do it, to really make something meaningful and more meaningful connections out of it. So thank you all for listening to my presentation. It's been wonderful having class with you, and I wish you all the best in the future. Take care.